instead of saying Ajnana Kala, it is better to say Bhranti Kala. Life is the time of just a realm of, it is better to say this is a realm of Bhranti, perception, distorted perception. If you say this is a state of ignorance, it's wrong. Or I would say it doesn't explain completely. It is a realm of distortion due to ignorance is a better explanation. This is a realm of distortion. This is a realm of perception. This is a realm of illusion. This is a realm of dream. This is a realm of Bhranti. This is a realm of Viparita Jnanam. This is a realm of Viparita Jnanam due to ignorance of the truth. Ignorance of the truth. There is no realm of ignorance. There is only a realm of distorted perception about the truth due to ignorance. Makes a lot of difference. Makes a lot of difference. So even when we say, that is the realm of ignorance, it should mean what I said. We are not very particular about the phrases. I don't think we should be so obsessive about the type of language, as long as what we mean is correct. What we say can be anything. In fact, Shastra means something different from what it says. It says God is the cause, but what it means is it alone is. It says God is the source, but what it means is God alone is. It says water is the source of all waves, but what it means is water alone is. That is called Tatparyam. What it means is the Tatparyam. But in order to mean it, you can't say anything and mean that. Even to mean that, you have to say something that conforms to what you mean. A very important, that's called Prakriya. That's called methodology. The method that you adopt to teach must conform to what you want to mean. Therefore, you can't say anything and mean anything. That's why you can't invent prakriyas. You can't invent prakriyas. You can't invent methods. The only prakriya is, it is at once the source of everything and it is non-dual. Why it is non-dual? Because that is its nature. Why it is the source of everything? Because everything that is born has to be born within that non-dual. Every limited thing must appear within the unlimited. Within the unlimited must appear every limited thing. Within the unlimited must appear every limited thing. Why it is unlimited? That is its nature. Why it is free? That is its nature. Why it is me? That is its nature. Because truth can't be, by nature it can't exist except as the subject. And therefore, it is said, therefore you can't invent. Language can be anything, it doesn't matter at all. Therefore here it is said, whether you call it the realm of, this is a realm of distorted perception about the truth due to ignorance. Or you call it, this is a realm of self-ignorance, it doesn't matter. But what it means is, What we mean is, it is the realm of distorted perception about the truth due to ignorance. Due to ignorance. It is ignorance, you should never say. It is due to ignorance. Dawai lijiye. It's a distortion due to ignorance. Don't say it is ignorance. It's a very important thing for me. Suffering is not ignorance. Suffering is a distortion due to ignorance. Looking at myself as a sufferer, is an illusion due to ignorance. Due to ignorance. Likes and dislikes are. To look at myself as a liker, to look at myself as a disliker, is an illusion about myself due to ignorance. But sometimes we just make it precise, it's ignorance. That's what we say. But it is not ignorance, it is a distorted perception due to ignorance. We have to create the sanskara in man that he is living a wrong perception about himself. It is easy to appreciate I must be ignorant, but it takes education to appreciate that life is a realm of distorted perception about the truth due to ignorance. Superstition is due to ignorance. Superstition is not ignorance. Superstition is an illusion. Superstition is a wrong belief due to ignorance. Anger is a certain situation in oneself due to ignorance. Therefore, it is always better to say it is adhyasa due to ignorance. It is a wrong perception about oneself, nothing else. You can't have any wrong perception about the world, because the world is wrong perception about oneself. And if you mistake the rope for snake, yes, snake is a wrong perception about the rope, and rope is a wrong perception about oneself, and therefore even the error about the rope falls within the illusion about the truth. Therefore, all subjective errors, all the individual mistakes are all within the universal mistake. Are you able to follow? All the individual mistakes. Therefore, you go on correcting the individual mistakes, but they can go on multiplying. Individual mistakes are, individual mistakes are very, very resourceful. They can never become extinct. You cannot make individual mistakes extinct. Why? They are very resourceful. They manage to survive. Multiply hota रहता है. Today you correct one mistake, tomorrow you will learn another mistake. We are vulnerable, ji. And therefore all individual mistakes are within universal mistakes. All individual emotions are within the universal mistake. There is no universal emotion. There is a universal error. What everybody lives is an error about the truth. Everybody doesn't live everything. You live sometimes, you live love for money, I live love for music, somebody else lives something else. Even though everybody is subject to, everybody has the potential for every emotion, but the emphasis is not on the same thing. We all don't have the same degree of love for music, etc. Kuch nahi hai. But we all have the same degree of error about the truth. Complete error. I think we are all the same in the error and the truth. We are all the same in our error and the truth. Therefore, I have explained away, create a sanskara in you that whatever I see is a perception about myself. Even though we may say it is a perception in myself, ultimately, as you grow in understanding, it is a perception about myself. That I am limited is a judgment about myself. I am a form is not a perception in myself. I am a form is a perception about myself. This is a table, is even though we say it is a perception in the wood, but it is judgment about the wood. Bhashyakara never leaves that point. Atmani adhyasaha. But those who don't know much of Sanskrit, they will translate as error in the self, because Atmani is the seventh case. No, it is adhikarana, it is not adhikarana saptami, it is Vishaya saptami. It is a Vishaya saptami. It is a seventh case implying the topic, about, not in. It's an error, it is a judgment about the wood. It is a perception about. Therefore, in Sanskrit, in means seventh case, about also means seventh case. In means adhikarana saptami, about means Vishaya saptami. Atmani adhyastha. Atmani adhyasa. It's a Vishaya saptami. Therefore, it's an error about it. Now here, Bhashyakara uses this language, you can. Siddhanta is saying, sir, it is universal that in retrospect you always say, I only saw the shell as silver. It is not that I missed. In retrospect, one doesn't think like this. Oh, it happened to be the shell, but then I missed it. Then quickly my ignorance transformed and become the silver. And then later on, I came to know this shell and the silver got destroyed. These so many thoughts are not there. This Ramayana is not there. कोई रामायण है नहीं उधर. I only saw there is about. Silver was just a wrong judgment, a wrong perception. I found myself with about the shell. It was an illusion about the shell. It's a perception about the shell. Therefore, the silver that I see, neither it has the reality of the market silver, nor does it have less real. It is not a thing, it is a pure, sheer perception. It is not a tangible thing there. It is the thingness that we dismiss. They also say it is false, we also say it is false. They call it a false thing. We say it is a false perception, looking like a real thing. Amazingly. A false perception looks like a real thing. They say a false thing looks like a real thing. Haji, this is the crux. They say Mula Vidyavadi says it's a false thing looking like a real thing. No, it is a false, it is a wrong perception looking like a real thing. It is a perception that is looking like a thing. It is not a thing that looks like a thing. A lesser real thing looking a more real thing is not evidence in life. A lesser real thing. There is no such a thing called, in this world we don't have lesser real things and more real things. Everything looks real. Absolutely real for me. Therefore, the lesser real things don't look like more real things. The wrong judgments look like real things. That is adhyasa. Dream is sheer perceptions look like real things. It's all judgment about myself. I see myself as a dream body. As a dream body, I am seeing dream thing, having dream perceptions. I see actually, I am seeing myself the truth as both the dreamer and the dreamt, as divided. If the unlimited is seen as limited, limited cannot exist non-dual, has to be related to something else. Did you follow this? If the unlimited is seen as limited, the limited cannot exist as non-dual. It has to be related to the world. And both the limited me and what I see, both together should make the unlimited perception. Yes, boundless. The unlimited should look the boundless. The unlimited is seen as me, and I as an individual cannot exist non-dual. I should exist related to something, and me and what I am related should make the boundless. Therefore, the error about the limitless has to be boundless. Or I would say, yes, the error about the limitless also has to be a kind of physically limitless. Limitless. It is limitless. For a Uttama Adhikari, I can explain it. How it is limitless. Because what limits? The factors that bring about limitation. The time brings about it, the time limits. Because the only the only means by which we judge limitation is what is limited in time. What is limited in time is limited. What is limited in space is limited. But that time which the yardstick for limitation, space which is the yardstick for limitation, are a part of the error. Then how can you measure the creation? With the time. Time is a part of it. Space is a part of it. You can't measure time by another time. You can't measure the space with another space. The most mind-boggling perception, when the unlimited is judged wrongly, it always looks the seer and the seen. The seer individual and the seen. And as individual I cannot be non-dual. As Brahman I am non-dual, but as the Jiva I cannot be non-dual. Therefore, the error about the truth always is in the form of Jiva and Jagat. Both together make Virat. Make the unlimited vision. The unlimited era. Similarly, when I look at myself as the dreamer, the truth is, it is not the waker that is judged the dreamer. Wrong. It is the truth that is judged the dreamer. It is the truth that is judged, that is seen as both the dreamer and the dreamt. And the dreamer and the dreamt make the limitless perception. And therefore, Bhagavan says, तथाच वक्ष्यति भगवान भाष्यकारः शुक्तिकाम रजतम प्रत्येति. One sees the shell as the silver. When we say that, ityatra, now here, concentrate on what I am going to say, just a couple of minutes. When we say one sees the shell as the silver, the word shell means only the shell. But the word silver has no meaning there. It is a word for which there is no fact. The word shell has a fact, but the word silver doesn't have a fact. That is why Vacharambanam. It is a word for which there is no corresponding thing. बहुत बड़ी बात है जी. One sees the shell for the silver. The word shell has the corresponding thing, but the word silver has no corresponding thing. A word for which there is no corresponding thing is called Vacharambanam. It's a mere word for which there is no fact. Then what is it? It is only one is seeing it so, not that there is Rajatam. And this Bhashikara says very beautiful. How can you make a mistake about this? Shuktikam Rajatam Pratyetiti Atra Shukti Vachanaha eva Shuktika Shabdaha. The word Shuktika refers to the object Shuktika. Rajata Shabdastu, but the word Rajata. Rajata Pratiti Lakshanartaha. It doesn't refer to the thing Rajata. It only refers to Rajata Pratiti. The word shell refers to the thing shell. The word silver refers not to the thing. Either less real thing or more real thing. It has no reference to the thing. Rajata pratitistu kevalaha. Rajata pratiti lakshanartaha. And the last is a quotable quote. Pratyetyevahi kevalam rajatamiti. One only sees it as rajatam. Natu tatra rajatam asti. Wahan par koi rajat nahi. Bhashikara says wahan par koi rajat nahi hai. Pratyetyevahi kevalam rajatamiti. Only sees it as the silver, not that there is any silver. And that is the position of ourselves as individuals. That is the position of ourselves as individuals. That is the position of the whole life. Not that there is a sansara. Pratyetyevahi kevalam sansari iti. I only see myself as an individual, not that I am an individual. One sees oneself as a form, not that one is a form. One only sees oneself as a gender, not that one has any gender. Consciousness doesn't have a gender. The observer has no gender. Gender comes under the observed. We observe the gender of the form. The one who observes doesn't have gender. He only is. He is not doing the job of observing. He is. Beyond existence, you can't talk about the truth except that it is. Within the easiness of the truth is the perception of the whole universe. Within the easiness. Like within the easiness of the silence is the whole realm of the sound. Therefore, even in self-contemplation, one doesn't have to unnecessarily, strain his temples looking this way, that way, imagining things. Just think of existence. I am. Feel the sense of existence. I'll just give you a clue. When you say this object is, when you think of, very, very seriously, the existence is, this tree is. When you use that sentence, your attention goes straight to the object. When you think of the presence of the object, it goes straight to the object. And then do some effort at home. When you think of I am, your attention goes back to your being. I am. The attention goes back to your being. And that being, that self, it has no other facet except being. By way of being, it is unlimited. By way of being, it is consciousness. By way of being, it is non-dual. You can't think of yourself except in terms of that you are. Therefore, discerning between Atma and Anatma also is nothing but discerning between the presence of your being and the perception of a form, perception of the body. Therefore, here Bhagavan says, sir, there is no... Whereas the Mula Vidyavadi wants us to believe that it is not the Rajata perception that looks like the thing Rajata, it is the less real silver looks more real, means the normal, empirically real. A less real thing called Pratibhasika Satta, the less real thing looks like the really real silver. Whereas Bhashyakara is saying it is not the less real silver that looks like more real silver. No. It is the shell that looks like the silver. It is a sheer perception, but it looks like a real thing. Real thing. This is the bone of contention. Many people just leave it. छोड़ो ये सारी दिमाग को क्यों खराब करें, छोड़ो. जब तक दिमाग को खराब नहीं करेंगे, दिमाग will keep creating problems. Therefore, life also is a perception. The more we give thingness to life, the more it bothers us. The more we ascribe thingness to our life, the more we ascribe thingness to our problems, our sorrows, tangibility. The more we think of the universe, life as tangible, the more it bothers us. It is not tangible. It is a judgment about the tangible, the truth. That is self-evidently tangible. Not means solidly real. That is what I mean. Tangible. Tangible does not mean physical. Solid reality. Like the shell is real. Now, continue. Let us continue. Rajata shabdastu rajata pratiti lakshanartaha pratyetyev hi kevalam rajatamiti natu tatra rajatamasti iti nanu asya pratitehe karyatvat karanapeksha. That nanu onwards Purvapakshi. You can make a mark. Otherwise later on you will know where did the Siddhanti begin and where did he end and where did the Purvapaksha. Now the Purvapakshi means Mula Vidyavadi begins. He says, sir, I understand that Rajatam is a mere perception. Okay, I accept. But that error must have a material cause which changed and become it. Amazing. See, he says, yes, it is an error. Rajatam is an error. Okay. Rajatam is an error. Okay. But it must be the product of some change on the part of something. That is called Karanam. Karanam means what? A changing cause is called Karanam. How can the error take place unless some change took place somewhere? This is absolutely, oh my God, this is too much. I say, errors don't take place due to change behind. Errors don't take place because of some change behind. Error is different from a process of change and result. When the milk changes and becomes curd, it is not an error. It is a transformation, it's a change. It is change. It is change. But when I see the shell for the silver, it is not change. If I see myself as a form, it is not because of some change inside. It is there for lack of reflection on me. Thus, it is there. It is there. The error is there until I see the truth. That is called the definition of an error. You see? Abhicharita siddham. That which is there until I do vichara. It is there. And don't say it came about through change. If it can come about through change I can't do anything. Anytime anything can change and again create a problem. And change doesn't have a time limit. What changes keeps changing forever. वो तो चलता ही रहेगा जी. This is another mind-boggling phenomenon. People don't analyze this. Change doesn't stop. Milk changes and becomes curd, and curd also it changes and that changes. The change is endless until the laya. Until the laya. You see, the individual things in life keep on changing. They keep on changing. Even individuals, I tell you, in time they will have to change. If not in this life, next life. कभी ना कभी change तो होना ही है. If somebody changes, don't feel surprised. Oh, he has changed. तो कुछ भी नहीं है. If he doesn't change also, it doesn't matter. It takes time to change. Mind is meant to change. Don't get awestruck. Oh, that person has changed so much. Nothing great about it. Nothing great about it. In fact, it is only when you are not surprised by anything in this world, then you wonder at it. You enjoy Vedanta. There is nothing in it. If your wife behaves badly, don't unnecessarily break your head. धीरे-धीरे ठीक हो जाएगी. You go about your duty peacefully. You go about your studies peacefully. You live your life. Let her burn out her prarabdha. Don't unnecessarily suffer. Don't unnecessarily. Giving company in suffering does not mean really multiplying suffering. Doesn't mean you also suffer. That is not giving company. See, when somebody is suffering, you don't suffer. That is called giving company in suffering. Because if you also suffer, then the other person suffers more. See, it's as what prarabdha ji. No matter how much you want to help your son, उनका प्रारब्ध तो उनको he has to go through. Prarabdham cannot be nullified by relationships. Prarabdham just because did Rama nullify Dasharatha's prarabdha? वो तो अपनी प्रारब्ध को कुछ नहीं कर पाया. दशरथ का प्रारब्ध को क्या करना है? Even when Bhagavan is born, was he able to handle his prarabdha? He had to go through prarabdha. He went and cried. Ramji. What a thing. I don't think anybody can have a worse prarabdha than Rama had, losing his wife. You see? Ayyo Rama. Do you know why do we say Ayyo Rama? Just to make you feel you are better. Hey Bhagavan, आप इतना परेशान उठाया, मैं थोड़ा ठीक ही हूँ. Yes. And in fact, it is meant, if you remember Rama only to feel, when Rama could go through so much, why not I? Why not I? There is nothing wrong in that. Okay. And therefore, here, prarabdha is there, the wife is suffering, change goes on and on and on. Everybody has to change in time. Therefore, if the Rajatam was the product of change on the part of something behind, then after changing to become Rajatam, it has to change to become something else. But it doesn't. It goes on looking Rajatam. Therefore, please, it is a wrong theory. Only perception can remain stable until correction. Things won't remain stable. Things won't remain stable. All perceptions look like things, therefore they also look like changing. But fundamentally they are not things, they are perception about the truth. They are all made up awareness. The moment we say thing, then becomes less real, more real, then gradation comes. Therefore here, anyway, Purvapakshi says, sir, just patiently here, try to pick up even a little clarity. Purvapakshi says, Rajatam may be a Bhranti, but should it not have a changing cause behind? Common sense says, Bhranti doesn't have a changing. It is born of non-recognition of a fact. Some fact is looking different due to my failure in recognizing that fact. That is called the distortion. I am looking different. I am looking a form due to, there is a reality, looking an individual due to lack of recognition. Why do you say this Bhranti also must have a changing cause? But anyway, the Purvapakshi says, Nanu, asya pratitehe karyatvat. Because this pratiti comes about, karana apeksha, it must have a changing cause behind. Tatashcha ajnana siddhihi tyadhyavasitam. Now the Mula Vidyavadi says, sir, if the perception of silver just takes place, then it must have a changing cause. The only changing cause that we can think of is ignorance. Ignorance changed and stands as the Rajata. Whereas we say ignorance doesn't change and stand as the silver. It is the shell that looks like the silver due to ignorance. Ignorance means non-recognition. That's all. Not a tangible thing there. Ignorance is not a padartham which underwent change and stands as the silver. Are you able to follow? Yes, get the clarity. In fact, if we get this clarity, that all problems are only in the form of perceptions, not things, then I am only seeing the truth differently. Paramatma doesn't become things. Because Paramatma, there is no method, there is no how does an awareness become a thing? In awareness only thinking is, thought is possible. Thing is not possible. If something has to come, then the same thought has to look like thing. Yes. See, we entertain thoughts. All right, entertain things. Can you entertain food? Even in the individual consciousness, even in the individual mind, you can entertain thoughts, not things. But the same individual thoughts in a dream look like things. The universe also is a thought in the truth. The thought in the truth. All a vision in the truth. And therefore, here he says, Nanu asya pratitehe karyatvat karanapeksha tatasya ajnana siddhishchaiti adhyavasitam nayam sadhuradhyavasaya. Siddhanti. Nayam onwards, Siddhanti. Siddhanti says, Nayam sadhuradhyavasaya. So, this conclusion that every error must have a transforming cause behind, that something transforms and becomes an error is wrong. The definition of an error is an erroneous perception about a fact. Error means not erroneous thing, erroneous perception about a fact. Like when I see the sand as a mirage, there is no change behind. Not that really my ignorance of the sand transformed and stands as the water. Sand looks like water. Somehow it looks like water and I see it's water. It's a sheer illusion. And its material is not ignorance, its material is the sand. The reason is what triggers the illusion is ignorance. Ignorance only triggers the illusion in the reality. Ignorance triggers an illusion in the reality, about the reality. That is why ignorance can be nimittam, the triggerer. Ignorance, because of ignorance means because I don't understand this, I don't see the sand as sand. That is called ignorance. Ignorance is not a thing. It is only lack of knowledge. Lack of right knowledge is called ignorance. Similarly, the reason, the nimitta, the reason behind my perception of myself as an individual is my lack of knowledge about myself. And the material is the truth. The upadana means the truth. What is looking as an individual is the truth. Ignorance is not looking like an individual. Due to ignorance, the truth is looking like an individual. You know, if everything is made up with the material were ignorance, Shruti would say all is ignorance. It doesn't say all is Brahma. I don't want to follow quickly. The Shruti doesn't say everything is ignorance. No, it says everything is Brahman. You are seeing it so due to ignorance. I mean, Shastra is very clear. But why do you want, where is the scope for you unnecessarily to, stumble in your thinking? Why are you stumbling? Why do you have to stumble? All the time. Aisa is all. Why do you poke your mediocre nose into the topic? If you have an elegant nose, you better poke. And you have such a mediocre, ever-running nose. You are poking your mediocre, ever-running nose into the topic. What are you talking? And creating confusion in the minds of the people. All this is not said here. Don't think Swamiji Shankaracharya says all this. No. Shankaracharya doesn't say. हम लोग 1 घंटा पूरा करना है ना, थोड़ा बहुत एग्जैजरेट करना पड़ता है. Shankaracharya Bhashya, the Siddhanta says, Nayam sadhuradhyavasaya. Why? Antah karana indriya dosha nimitta deva shukti jnana abhave pratitupattehe. Great. So, you can always miss a reality due to certain flaws in your pramanas, in your perception. Your mind is elsewhere, your eyes are not very good, whatever may be, your faculties may be semi-dark. There are so many factors. But ultimately what triggers an illusion is that you fail it, that you miss it. The reason is not the absent-mindedness. Absent-mindedness helps me miss a fact. That I miss the reality triggers illusion. Not absent-mindedness triggers, no. Even absent-mindedly, if you see the reality, there will be no illusion. There will be no illusion. Don't say it is the flaws in the senses that cause illusion. Wrong. The flaws in my eyes, the flaws in my senses, the flaws, certain defects in my senses, some defect in my mind doesn't cause illusion. It only to begin with, it will only prompt me to miss a truth. It is that missing the truth that triggers an illusion, not directly the defects of the faculties. The defects of the faculties directly can't cause illusion. The defects of the faculties directly can't cause illusions. They only help me miss the truth. My extrovertedness only can help me miss myself. My absent-mindedness can help me miss myself. My preoccupation with the objects can help me miss my presence. And when I miss myself, I see myself as an individual. This has been there and continues. I continue to miss myself, and therefore there is a continued illusion about myself. I don't want even to say, this you have to register it with absolute diligence. I don't say due to lack of knowledge self-error came about. Due to lack of knowledge self-error is. Due to lack of self-knowledge self-error is. Don't say due to lack of self-knowledge, self-error came about. Because we always want to visualize everything as came about, history. We want to read history into Bhagavan. We want to read history into Bhagavan's creation also. History. History is what? Nothing but memory. We forget what happened, there is no history. The entire history is nothing but the history of memory. और क्या? कल क्या हुआ याद नहीं है. Write a history about yesterday. What can be forgotten is not the truth. What needs to be remembered is also not the truth. What needs to be recognized, which is always there, the truth. Therefore, here, coming back to the point, I can't even say that the self-error came about. And the Mula Vidyavadi always thinks in terms of coming about. Then he thinks of a changing cause. You understand, where lies the problems. We must see really where lies the problem in their thinking. See, they are wrong, but they are honest in their wrong. They are not being mischievous. They honestly think so. They honestly think wrong. They think honestly, but think wrongly. They are not trying to be mischievous. Mischief is different from an honest mistake. And why do they make that honest mistake? This is where the problem is. They say the error comes about, which is a wrong thing. Error never comes about. Error is due to lack of knowledge. The moment we say error came about, then immediately the mind says anything that comes about must have a cause. Yes, there is a flaw in thinking. That is why it is very important to emphasize in one's mind, errors don't come about. Errors, even sadhi adhyasa, even the errors about the objects, even though we say they are sadhi adhyasas, meaning the adhyasas that come about, but strictly speaking, they don't come about. You find yourself with an error. You find yourself with an error due to lack of knowledge. But changes you don't find yourself with. You don't find yourself with curd. You have to wait for it. You don't find yourself with curd. You keep the milk for curd and then wait and wait and wait. And if it is winter, you have to even keep it in the sun. You don't find yourself suddenly old. You have to wait for it. Processes are different, very uninteresting stuff. Trying to find out the truth by probing into processes is a very uninteresting method, I am telling you. Why? It's the wrong thing. It's the wrong. Therefore, here it says, don't define error as something that comes about. Then you will immediately think there is a changing course. Tatascha jnana siddhirityavadhyavasitam nayam sadhuradhyavasayaha antah karana indriya dosha nimitta deva shukti jnana abhave pratityupapattehe. Up to that you can put a mark. He says, sir, nothing need to change to become an error, because if I miss the silver, supposing I have some flaws in my senses, supposing I have some flaws in my mind, I can miss the shell, and by that very reason that I miss the shell, I can mistake it for, I can find myself seeing it as silver. Therefore, we can explain away all errors without taking the help of any change. We don't have to explain anything by taking the help of the change. Like a scientist wants to explain the whole creation through change. Something happened. That's why there is a creation. Something happened. Nothing happens. In fact, all happenings are due to the ignorance about the truth that ever is without becoming a happening. Happening is always in contrast to what is, and the error has to be in contrast to the fact. All happenings are in contrast to the fact. Sounds happen, silence is. Silence never happens. The most fundamental experience, the most, if you go on looking at it, there is only silence. When does it begin? G. Because within the infinite silence, in the silence alone begins every sound and resolves every sound. Therefore, thus, we can explain away everything. Vedanta explains away everything without resorting to change, meaning without causation. I don't have to see the changes behind for this. It is illusions don't happen due to some change. Like superstitions happen not due to change, just lack of education, lack of seeing the fact. What else? There is nothing but that, jnana bhava. The more I am educated, the more I see the realities, the more I get out of superstitions. Okay, ji. Continue. Om Purnamadaha Purnavidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.